The quality is so much better than I expected. It feels like something way more expensive. Honestly, it's kind of a steal. Show support to Nubian Narrator and cop some merch before it's sold out again.
You nigger! You nigger! They throwing stuff? Ah, shit! Why they throwing stuff? Ah! Oh, hell no! What they throwing? I'm not even on a rivalry team! I'm not even a rival! I support United! Oh, wait. What the hell? Oh, hell no. We gotta get out of here. So I'm about to leave, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. They're on the camera. They're on the camera. Let's get out of here. Okay. Get out of here. Let's get out of here. I'm leaving. We are out, bro. We leaving, chat. Hey, keep water. Open up. Chat, I'm about to leave, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. Let's go. Let's go, bro. What the hell going on? Where?
Let's stop dancing around it. Let's stop being vague. Let's stop pretending this was some abstract, nameless situation. The hardest moments of IShowSpeed's Africa tour happened in Algeria, and parts of the online backlash and reported hostility also focused on Morocco. That matters. Not to attack entire countries, but because honesty matters. What people watched unfold in Algeria was not just awkwardness. It wasn't just cultural misunderstanding. It wasn't just football fans being intense. It was hostility. It was aggression. And it crossed into racial territory. Speed walked into that stadium in Algeria excited. He was interacting with fans, smiling, streaming, doing what he always does. Then the atmosphere shifted. Objects started flying, bottles, trash, projectiles from the crowd. That is not celebration. That is not love. That is not culture. That is hostility. Security had to intervene. The livestream ended abruptly. The energy went from hype to tense to unsafe in real time. Millions of people watching felt the shift instantly. And alongside the physical aggression, people who watched those streams and clips reported hearing verbal hostility too. Not just heckling, not just football chants, but language and tone that viewers recognized as racially degrading. People said they heard words associated with slavery. They said they heard dehumanizing language. They said the hostility wasn't just about behavior, but about identity. You don't have to exaggerate that. You don't have to dramatize it. People saw it. And the most telling part wasn't just what happened in Algeria, it was what happened after. Instead of saying, that was wrong, instead of saying, no one should be treated like that, instead of saying, we need to reflect on this, a lot of people rushed to shut the conversation down. They said, he's too loud. He disrespected culture. He should have known better. Football fans are just intense. Stop making this about race. That's the oldest trick in the book. When someone experiences racism, people don't examine the behavior. They examine the victim. Speed didn't deserve objects thrown at him. Speed didn't deserve verbal hostility. Speed didn't deserve to feel unsafe in a place he entered with openness. You don't get to throw bottles at someone because you don't like their personality. You don't get to treat someone like less than human because they don't fit your idea of how a guest should behave. And let's be clear, this is about Arab non-indigenous Algerian Africans being racist. This is honest. This is an opinion. This is a fair assessment. There are Algerians who condemned the behaviour. There are Algerians who were embarrassed by what happened. There are Algerians who welcomed Speed and showed love. But pretending that nothing happened helps no one. The conversation didn't stop at Algeria either. Online discussions also pointed to moments in Morocco where people claimed similar energy appeared in some clips. Not everywhere, not every interaction, but enough that people started connecting patterns. That doesn't mean these countries are evil. It means something happened in specific spaces that deserves to be acknowledged instead of erased. Because when the instinct is to protect national image over human dignity, something is wrong. The moment people become more concerned with how this makes us look than with, was this person treated fairly, that's a problem. And what made this situation heavier is that Speed wasn't there to provoke anyone. He wasn't there to debate politics. He wasn't there to insult anyone's culture. He wasn't there to antagonize. He was there with joy, with excitement, with openness. You could see it when he arrived in Nigeria, in Kenya. In other parts of the continent, the energy was different. The reception was different. The love was obvious. Which is exactly why the contrast in Algeria felt so jarring. It stood out because it didn't match the rest of the tour. It stood out because it felt hostile rather than chaotic. It stood out because it looked unsafe rather than energetic. And instead of having an honest conversation about that contrast, people tried to flatten everything into silence. Don't talk about this. You're dividing people. You're exaggerating. You're embarrassing us. But silence doesn't heal anything. It just protects the problem. Racism doesn't stop existing because we refuse to name it. Colourism doesn't disappear because it's uncomfortable. Internalized hierarchy doesn't vanish because it disrupts unity narratives. What happened in Algeria deserves honesty, not exaggeration, not denial, just honesty. You can acknowledge that the incident was real without condemning everyone. You can admit something went wrong without turning it into collective blame. You can talk about harmful behavior without hating people. That's maturity. And this conversation matters because Speed is not the first black person to describe feeling unwelcome in certain North African spaces. He's just one of the most visible. Black migrants have spoken about discrimination. Darker-skinned Africans have spoken about colourism. Afro-descended communities in North Africa have spoken about exclusion. Those voices have existed long before Speed ever visited Algeria or Morocco. They just didn't have millions of viewers watching in real time. Speed didn't create this conversation, he exposed it. And the instinct to shut it down rather than examine it tells you everything. This is not about cancelling Algeria. This is not about attacking Morocco. This is about saying they are racist. That is honest. This is about saying something happened in Algeria that should not have happened. Some behaviour crossed a line. Some reactions were hostile in a way they shouldn't have been. And pretending otherwise doesn't protect dignity. You don't build unity on denial. You don't build respect on silence. You don't build progress on pretending everything is perfect. You build it on honesty. Speed didn't deserve to be treated like that in Algeria. No one does. And saying that is not anti-Algerian. It's pro-human. If we claim to value dignity, then dignity has to be consistent. Not conditional, not selective, not based on image management. But what happened should have been met with collective accountability. Instead, it was met with defensiveness, and that's why the conversation still matters. Not because we want to shame countries, but because we want to be honest about behaviour. Not because we want division, but because we want growth. Not because we want conflict, but because we want dignity to mean something. You can love your country and still admit when something went wrong. You can be proud of your culture and still challenge harmful behaviour within it. You can care about unity and still demand accountability. That's not betrayal, that's integrity. And until we get comfortable with that level of honesty, moments like what happened in Algeria will keep happening, and the same cycle of denial will repeat again and again. Speed's experience didn't ruin Africa's image. The denial did. The defensiveness did. The refusal to acknowledge harm did. Honesty would have strengthened the image. Accountability would have strengthened the narrative. Maturity would have strengthened the respect. Because real dignity doesn't come from pretending nothing happened. It comes from saying, clearly and without fear, that behavior was wrong. No one deserves that. And we can do better. Not left, not right, just real.